Okay, so yeah, we're gonna look at eBay. I guess YouTube put me on the front page or something, so there's this, we're gonna have like an impromptu session here. Okay, so as you know, we've sort of selected, as a group, we've selected internet stocks as our muse to learn about investing. And we've started to look at a few of them. We've made some files, and those files are available on our Google Drive. So let's make a file for eBay real quick. We're starting now. This will take, I don't know, probably go for like 2 hours. I have fun doing these. Got my Bloomberg open. eBay stock trades for $24. I wonder how many shares outstanding there are. Let's take a look. Wow, I have 500 people watching. That's a lot. All right. So I go to the SEC website, quickly pull up eBay's last 10K or 10Q filing, and I see right there that they have 1.178 billion shares outstanding. So each share is $24. So that means that if the pie has got 1 billion pieces, I just got a birthday cake, and it's a huge cake, and I could probably cut it into 1 billion pieces. And if I sold each piece for $24, the whole company would be worth $29 billion. And that's kind of what eBay, one share of eBay is $24, but there are over 1 billion shares out there. So that's why the whole company is worth $28 billion. And that should make intuitive sense to you. So let's just save this and make sure all y'all get access to it. Now I wonder how much cash and debt they have. That would be very interesting to know. So since we're trying to frame the value of the company, the easiest way to reframe that, other than just the market cap, is also the enterprise value, which is the net sort of financial situation at the company. We can quickly look for the balance sheet. Let's take a look. Should be right around here. They did spin out PayPal, which is a pretty important sort of concept. But here's the eBay balance sheet on page F1, which is about halfway through the file. You can see they've got about $6 billion in cash. $6 billion. We got another $3 billion in long-term investments, so call it 10 billion in cash, or cash equivalents. I wonder how much debt they've got. Looks like 7 billion. Yeah, 7 billion in total. So a little bit of net cash, not too much. Market cap and the enterprise value are roughly equivalent. 2-3 billion in net cash. So $25 billion company, about double LinkedIn and Twitter, which we've looked at, but much, much smaller than the Amazons and Facebooks and Microsofts of the world, which makes sense. Well, you can't tell just from your visceral understanding of the company. We have to look at the numbers. So let's look at some of these numbers. Let's quickly make the last couple quarters, so we can get a sense for what eBay is all about. I wonder if they're still growing or shrinking or what. Back in the day, they were a high growth company. It was one of the first stocks I ever really took a close look at. I track listing growth very carefully. eBay listings are very important. So let's see. Here's revenue. Well, revenue is flattish. About 8 billion a year. Kind of makes sense. Just colloquially, you don't really hear about eBay very much. Gross margins are still as high as I remember them. Let's see, what's that look like? 75% roughly? 79% gross margins? I like to make these lines so I can move them every now and then when the quarters move, so I can differentiate between actual and historical. My friend Joe taught me that. Alright, let's look at the rest. Provision for transaction losses, that's interesting. Alright, so $2 billion in EBITDA, interest income. I wonder if they hold float. That'd be really interesting. Taxes. Alright, so eBay is making $2 billion a year, and the enterprise value is $26 billion. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. If you think about that, that's what, 10 times earnings? So they've been making roughly $2 billion, $2.5 billion a year. The earnings have declined a little bit. That makes it a value stock for you Graham Dodd kind of, so let's just, for argument's sake, say that earnings drop, well, let's see, it was 1947, so let's say earnings drop 5% a year from here on out. On a runoff basis, eBay could be attractive. Yeah. And let's put down what last quarter's revenue growth was. We can put down gross margin. I guess let's go to the Q4 page real quick, and let's do the rest of the years. Taxes, all messed up. Let's just put it down to 0 right now. 944, 915. My guess is there's some one-time items and things like that that make it hard for us to understand what the true tax impact was. Shares outstanding have been going down. They've probably been doing a buyback. Not that important to look at things on a per share basis, but people do it. I don't really recommend stocks. I kind of teach people how to look at stocks, how to research them. I rarely purchase stocks. Alright, so we got our template kind of set up here. Let's see if we can't find the press release that accompanied their fourth quarter. Here it is. That was easy. Gross merchandise volume. So that's a metric they give out that we should track. This is how much was auctioned, I guess, on eBay that quarter. So $22 billion. We should track that really carefully. Active buyer base, 162 million. That's interesting. I haven't used eBay myself in a long time. The website kind of sucks. But revenue's flat. Let's look for an income statement. Here it is. All right. 2 billion. Provision for transaction losses, I find it interesting. I guess they sort of have like an insurance almost that they charge off every quarter. It's pretty small, but still. My keyboard just fritzed out there. All right, here we go. All right, so roughly 2 billion run rate for net income. If you look at just Q4, but I'm guessing Q4 there's some seasonality. Although if you eyeball it, it doesn't look too seasonal. On a full year basis, Q4 is 2322 divided by 8592. That's 27%, so pretty close to what you would expect if the years were even Steven. Let's take a look at the rest. Weird tax stuff going on here. All right, let's look at revenue growth. Check your buyer base number. 162 million. doesn't really matter. All right, so revenue growth flat. Hang on, I got some banding to do. I like banding people. All right. Gross margin is down here. Put operating margin. It's not that important to track, but for you noobs, it could be worth tracking. Is there a difference between EBITDA and operating income? Sure. Typically, you know, people say they're the same, but you know, it's depends on how you look at it. If you typically include D&A, in the income statement, then there's obviously a difference.